tunataka tupeana disclaimer. If unajua you have to take your breakfast na kuna mkate, make sure unajiendea wewe mwenyewe, usitume mtu. Ama tuma mtoto mdogo. Usitume someone who is above 18 years old. Anaweza kosa kurudi. It happened to me actually this week.
Au kurudi.
I was like, there was something nilikuwa nafaa kuchukua at the shopping center.
Okay.
I was supposed to print a document. So nilikuwa ni print, nirudi, alafu nitumanishe. Kwenda kuprint, nadhani hata niliprint. Nilikuwa narudi kwa nyumba usiku. So it's that month. But as much as tunaingia month, kuna kwanga precautions, si ndio? Hizo precautions zinakwanga gani?
Tembea na charger.
One, yes.
Jacket usikose.
Two.
Ni akili, beba akili pia.
Beba akili pia. Bas. Usikizo, kwanza unaona hapo kwa charger, mimi hata natembea na socket.
Extension yako pia.
Na beba extension yangu just in case niko huko naweza ikaribishia. Na watu weke simu vizuri zisiende. And if you are the guy mwenye anatumia responsibly. If you are driving inasemanga?
Don't drink and drive.
Don't drink and drive. Yes. Afadhali uchukue Uber, don't risk it. We want to see you in 2025 very healthy. All right. So it's about that time we introduce our guest for the day. I was actually even telling him nimepitia Instagram yake. It's one of the most cleanest profiles I've ever seen. I mean, from the beginning, his content is well placed. The graphics are well curated. I mean, you can just feel, even by just looking at the profile, you can feel what he does. But let me just let him introduce himself and tell us, because me know I describe here the Instagram profile, he'll tell us what he does. Welcome to Y254.
Thank you, guys. Happy to be here. My name is King David. I'm the founder and CEO of SPC Universe. SPC Universe is basically a global network of innovators across various countries in the continent. And what we do is we connect founders, investors, and talents together. And I'm happy to have this conversation with you guys today.
I can hear the accent. I'm sure they're wondering, where is he from?
So obviously, from accent, you should know I'm Nigerian. Though I don't live in Nigeria, I'm a digital nomad, but Nigeria is my first country.
I've seen you have traveled a lot.
Yeah, I have, actually.
How many
across
countries?
the continent.
Across the continent. So should I ask, how many countries have you not
Traveled.
visited?
So in the continent, I've been to the 4 regions, more than half at the moment. I don't like counting Europe and the rest. I'm more African, Afrocentric. And I think those are part of the things that we'll be discussing today, because when you travel in the continent, you get to find out that it's more expensive to travel in Africa than it is to travel in Europe. So those are very serious barriers to our free trade zone. Those are also serious barriers to exports, growth. As a founder, for instance, you're based in Ghana and now you want to relocate to Kenya. Your flight ticket, your cost of living is way higher than if you decided to travel within the European market. So those are very important conversations that we should be having.
Actually, that whatever you've said is actually true. There was a conversation I was having with a friend, and we were talking about if you want to visit Tanzania, which is just our neighbor, and then you need to use a plane. It's easier to go to Dubai and then you come back to Tanzania than just going direct.
So fun stuff. So last year, I had an event in Morocco, and I had to fly from Nairobi here to Marrakesh. And you can't just go to Marrakesh. It's in Africa. So you have to go to Istanbul, and then you have to transit, and then before you get there. And the cost of traveling from here to North Africa, you use it to go to UK and come back, and you have change. And it's in Africa. It's within Africa. For instance, for me to travel from Kigali to Nairobi is like $300. And it's within Africa. It's not even within Africa. It's within the same region.
It's in East Africa.
It's in East Africa. From Kenya to Uganda as well is the same thing. So these are real problems, and they do have solutions. The problem is that I think that maybe at the moment people are not ready for the solutions, especially the policymakers. I believe that they are not ready for the solutions, but these are like very real problems.
And that actually forms part of the goals that SPC does, uniting the whole of Africa. But you mentioned that digitally.
Yes.
you hold these conferences in different countries. How do you reach out to the individual countries? How do you find out these are the innovation hubs here, these are the tech guys here? Do you reach out to them? Do you do your research, or they reach out to you?
Yeah, great. So that's a very great question. I think one of the biggest opportunities for Africa is to begin to work as communities. So one of the things that we learned early is that if you want to actually foster, for instance, if you are trying to expand to something like Morocco, they don't speak English, right? They speak French. So apart from their native language. So those barriers to entry, such as language, can actually hinder your expansion. For instance, we did an event this year in Morocco, in Marrakesh, and we had to have like translators and the rest of that. So for me, what the secret for us is community building. So we build communities in every single country that we're interested in. And that's the reason we've been able to build that network, right? So like in Kenya here, we have a community of founders, talents, investors. In Nigeria, same thing in Ghana, in Morocco, in South Africa. So every single country here is operating in, we operate in that country through our community. So now with that community that we have, it's now easy for people to now say, well, let's put up a mixer, let's put up an event. Like yesterday, we had a mixer in Lagos, and I'm not in Lagos. It's a community that is doing it. Next week, Nairobi is going to have theirs as well on the 14th. And then we also have one in Casablanca as well on the 15th. And I'm not necessarily putting up the mixers. It's the community that is coming together to do that. So community building has been, in fact, community building is the basis of all our strategy in driving this. Yeah.
And I actually love the whole thing you're saying about communities just holding their own events in the different countries, because they also exchange ideas. You might have an idea, might build on it, and even add for you more ideas that you can be able to create whatever you wanted to innovate.
A quick follow-up on that. There is a reason why the church is a very large institution. A lot of time people do not understand the secret of the church. The secret of the church is community. So that's why you have the general overseer in a country, but you have cells, you have PCFs, you have subgroups, you have groups, then you have groups, and then you have zonal churches, and then you have regional churches. The essence of those communities, because that's the way you can actually foster real connections with people. So like I said, one of the biggest barrier we have in Africa is that most Africans are not thinking as Africans. They think as, I'll give you a practical instance, if you go to North Africa, they think as Middle East, the MENA, they call themselves MENA, Middle East and North Africa. So they don't even think that the other Africa is, you get. If you go to South Africa believe that maybe they are the only Africans. Apologies to South Africans, but they believe that they are the only Africans, So, but when you come to the East and West, you see more of people thinking Pan-Africanism. So until the whole continent starts thinking as not just a country or a region, but as a continent, and starts building policies, communities, and growth systems that bring the continent together, those will still be having those type of challenges. Yeah.
Well, not a question, but just a contribution to that. In East Africa, we speak a common language, that's Swahili, in most parts of East Africa. Do you find it's easier to even just have one translator while you're speaking in English and then it's just Swahili?
True.
So it's much easier that way, unlike maybe in other countries where you find many
languages
dialects.
are fragmented. True.
Yes. All right, so in Kenya, how long have you been here?
Also, I commonly call Kenya my second home, in as much as sometimes it can be stressful. But the amazing thing about the Kenyan ecosystem is the fact that you find a blend of almost everything. So for someone like me that have played in most of the ecosystems in the regions, Kenya is, for me, is like that ecosystem. Kenya reminds me a lot about the way the Nigerian ecosystem is, because the Nigerian ecosystem is welcoming to everything. Is welcoming to everybody. If you're an innovator in the Nigerian ecosystem, you can get a lot of support. There is a market in the Nigerian ecosystem. Out of the Nigerian ecosystem, the second places most innovators consider is Kenya. It has more investors. Kenyan founders have raised the most money in the continent, even as at this year. And then it has this, especially Nairobi. Nairobi has this, I would like to call it city ecotourism mixed together. It's not, like you go to Kigali. Kigali is pure ecotourism. Right, but here in Nairobi, you can still have a feel of the city, and then you can still have a feel of ecotourism. And then, obviously, their people are so amazing, their men are amazing, their women are amazing, and, they have better food. I can really eat Kenyan food.
Okay.
Yeah, I eat as well. Not you guys don't have as much as Nigerians, but, like, relatively compared to, because I've stayed a lot in Kigali, so most times when I compare Kenya to Kigali, I'm like, no man, I need to go find something good.
Now that
to
you've
eat.
mentioned food, which food
So,
is your favorite in Kenya?
so the thing is, I don't really try to know the names, but my point is that I can literally eat anything here and I will feel very okay. Like I can go out. In fact, I go out every day, and you know most Nigerians like to eat Nigerian food, but me, I go out and I'm like, no, I just want to. I go to a Kenyan restaurant and say, what do you have? And mostly you see things you can relate to it. That's my point.
Right.
But then if you're in Kigali, you're basically eating matoke and you know basically same meals and all. So. That so obviously, and people have asked, why did we choose to do the world record here in Nairobi? Because we're actually doing it in Nairobi.
Just in case you're wondering where he's just brought in world record.
Yes.
So tell us, what is that world record first?
Okay, so on the 20th to 25th of January, I'll be attempting the longest speech marathon for the Guinness World Record. And people have asked, why are you speaking for 6 days? In as much as I speak for a living, and speaking is something I do easily. But then 6 days is a lot. So question is, why do we want to do that type of thing? Because what we're going to be talking in the record is actually called the United Africa Series. And for 6 days, I'll be sharing on the possibilities, what Africa can be when we come together as one. Starting from finance, from politics, from our educational sector, down to our entertainment sector, down to religion, down to across the pillars that make up the economies of the continent. And what we are going to be doing is to, which is what's very interesting about the record, more than just the speaking I'm going to be doing, we're going to have lots of people from across the continent, which is what I also love. It's not a maybe a Kenyan thing or a Nigerian thing, it's an African thing. So we're going to be having people from across the continent who are going to be jumping on these conversations. For instance, conversations around the creative sector. We're going to be having creatives who are actually in the sector share their thoughts. So while I'm doing the talk, a lot of talking is going on Twitter, on LinkedIn, across various social media platforms. So it's what I really love about this is that it's something anyone can be a part of. Because the topic we are talking about is not like I'm not cooking, I'm not running, or I'm not trying to, it's a very important conversation. So whether you are a DJ, you know, or you are a talent, or you are an investor, or you are a politician, there is a topic for you within that period. And one of the things that I believe that will happen is more people will be open-minded, because obviously I'm sharing my own opinions, my own research. I'm not saying it's veto, right? But it's basically to stir up these conversations and make sure that these conversations are on the world stage. So we thought about it and said, what better world stage to put it on other than breaking a record?
Never. What's the longest you've ever spoken? he says very less words, but heavy ones. What's the longest?
Speak less.
You didn't recite poems when you were in high school?
I tried once, but
that was the longest.
Never went well.
Okay, you had mentioned about the ecosystem in Nairobi.
Yeah.
He actually, where he mixes, it's a club called Cavalli.
Yeah.
Most of the time we call it the Tech Bro Centers. Yeah? Yeah. So it's a club, it's a lounge, plays music, but the revelers, they are mostly tech bros.
Yeah.
So it's people who are into tech. If you want to connect and get into that space, that's the best ideal space to go.
To meet.
Yes, and they will talk about tech stuff, but they will still have fun. So that's actually one of the best places I like to go. And I think it inspired him to also join Tech Bros. Started designing graphics. Oh, right? Okay, so where can we get you on social media as we speak?
Yeah, so on Instagram, _King Eternal. On LinkedIn, you just search for King David. On Facebook, you search for, so I don't use, funny enough, I don't use one names, I just change my names in different places. On Instagram, _King Eternal, LinkedIn, King David. And then on Facebook, you have Dave J. Daniel, though my Facebook is more private.
Okay.
Yeah,
wait, those are a lot of handles.
There's a lot of handles.
Okay, can we repeat them again so that the viewers can clearly hear you?
So Instagram, which I know many of you be on, very simple, _King Eternal. You definitely see that. And then LinkedIn is another place where you can also get to see what we do on the corporate side of things. That is King David. You just search for King David on LinkedIn. And then Facebook. Facebook is Dave with a J together, and then Daniel. But then, like I said, my Facebook is basically vibes and inshallah.
As it should be.
As it should be, because you can't be, there's some serious things you can't be saying on Facebook. So I take my serious stuffs to LinkedIn and Instagram, basically.
Let's talk about LinkedIn.
Yeah.
It's only until recently that people toned down their language on LinkedIn. Before, it was very serious.
Until Gen Z stormed LinkedIn and started saying, really?
Exactly. Even now, corporates have toned down. You can see memes.
Yeah, until Gen Z stormed LinkedIn. Gen Z has changed the you know, before on LinkedIn, people cannot, you know, on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, someone can insult you or tell you, you know, like savage responses. But then you go on LinkedIn, when someone wants to give you that kind of response, he'll be like, I do not think you have comprehend. They want to use it, but now
it's called corporate insults.
Corporate insults. So, but now, so basically, it's LinkedIn is a very amazing place. Me too. I was not really a LinkedIn fan. I've always been Facebook, Instagram. In fact, I started building our community from my personal Facebook. You know, I believe a lot in organic growth, so I built a lot of our first community back in COVID and 2021 from my personal Facebook. And then when I started the tour, I started the global tour in 2022, October. So there was a need for the kind of activities I was about to do on that level. Your audience on Facebook obviously they'll clap for you, they'll cheer for you, but in terms of strategic partnerships, strategic positioning, LinkedIn became a better place, you know. So that I actually took LinkedIn serious in 2022. And the good thing is that if you have an existing community or you really have good content, you can literally like grow your you know, LinkedIn. And one thing I also like about LinkedIn is you don't necessarily need to be, generally I don't believe in the whole idea of everybody pursuing 100K followers and all those things. I literally don't accept followers. People send me connection requests on LinkedIn, I check their profile. If I feel that we are not supposed to connect, I don't accept it. So you can have 1K followers and basically you have good engagement on your content, even with your 1K followers. That's one thing I really love about LinkedIn.
In Kenya, I think we have one of the largest communities of content creators, not just tech guys, but now people who dancers on TikTok, comedians, skit makers. Are there programs that you have designed specifically for content creators? Yeah,
so basically, most content creators, especially here in Kenya, one of the major challenges they're also having is they're not really working together. Again, same basic problem. When you go to the Nigerian ecosystem, people wonder why the Nigerian creative sector is big. I'll share you the secret. When an artist releases a song today, Brain Jota will pick it up. And then he will dance his funny dances on it. And then when he's done, Nasty Black will pick it up. And then when he's done, the next... And most of these guys are not picking it up as maybe I'm paying you or something. It's like a tradition in the ecosystem.
To support each other.
Exactly. Right? That's why you see someone like Don Jazzy, most of his artists, they scale very fast. Why? Don Jazzy has supported a lot of creators, from TikTok creators to comedians to actors. Once his artist put up a song, it goes. Now, bring it down to Kenya. Kenyan artists, the singers, and the creators, if they work together more, they'll have more of their content actually out there. That's number one. Number two, that is also very important for me, from what I've observed in the content. I was speaking to a couple of content creators, and I said, one thing that is also important, even to artists, is to understand that there is a global market. There's something Nigeria market does very well, which is export. We export creative sector heavily. And there's something we do, if you've observed, we try to use a language that most people can listen to. In Kenya, I've observed that most people do content in Swahili and all of that, which is beautiful because there you need to spotlight that. For instance, in Nigeria, people sing in Yoruba, like Olamide sings in Yoruba, you know, Fino sing. But when you check people like Olamide's record, you see that they couldn't really export. It was their artists that exported, like Asake and the rest of that. They were the ones that could export. And then when you watch what Asake did, you see that they brought this fine blend between the contemporary and still the modern, right? So to compete globally, you have to always pay attention to language. Language is one of the key things because, for instance, a Nigerian content creator can easily want to collaborate with a Kenyan content creator, but they have to be saying the same thing, you know. So I think that collaboration, the content creation space is still very young. it's not $1 billion industry, it's $1 trillion. In fact, let me just say this. In the next 3 to 5 years, everybody will be a content creator. In the next 3 to 5 years, if you don't have a podcast of your own, if you don't have a form of creating content,
they're saying even posting stories on Instagram
like
is content creation.
Exactly. So like I said, even as a founder, you can't say, oh, I don't like creating content. In fact, if you check most founders that are scaling right now, go and check. They create a lot of, if you check their IG, they create a lot of content, like a lot of content. As I'm talking to you now, I have a podcast that I've not released, but I'm literally recording like 100 episodes. When I start storming Instagram, you see the way it's arranged, it will also be arranged in that form. So everybody needs to pay attention to that. So yeah, so for Kenyan content creators, there are lots of opportunities for them at the moment, and collaboration will bring that better strength, because a lot of companies that come into new markets, the first thing they look for is content creators. Yeah. You understand? So one of the things we do for startups is we help them to expand into new markets. And 2 things we always look for are influencers, marketing talents, and these 2 key things. Once we get them, we know that we can start selling to that. So for instance, you're an edtech, you're targeting Kenya, you want to work with content creators in Kenya who have your audience, and they can create content for you. So, but if your visibility is only around maybe your circle or around using your language, you may not be able to tap into that clientele, basically. So yeah.
Now, maybe as we wind up, we had a question of the day. I don't know what your plans are for this. You'll be in Kenya, right?
Yes.
Throughout. So what are you planning to do?
In Kenya?
Yes.
This December?
Yes.
Okay, so let me invite you on the 14th of December to Walkstyle Parklands. We have a mixer for the Kenyan ecosystem. So we are just going to say it's an evening of drinks, chill, and basically just connect with innovators, founders, investors, and these days, you know the funny thing, right? People say, oh, you're a tech guy, and I'm like, what do you mean by I'm a tech guy? There's no such thing as a tech guy. The days of saying, oh, this guy is a tech guy is done. Do you understand?
So what's the
no,
time?
everybody is in tech.
Yeah.
As long as you're in this world today, as long as you don't want to stay obsolete, everybody is in tech. Like,
even if you have Canva, you're already in tech.
Every single person today is in tech. That's something that needs to be in the mind of everybody. In countries like China, or in countries like that, countries that they don't even talk about, oh, this is tech. To them, everything is basically on the foundation of, you know, tech. So you're on social media, you're literally commenting, you're already in that world. So what you now need to do is, how can I tap from that world? Like, how can I, you know, like get opportunities from that world? How can I make money from that world? How can I basically do stuff from, you know, that world, basically? So that's what your focus is going to be. But again, everybody is in tech. You may not yet be an active player, but you're in tech. So yes, I'm inviting you. That's
so that's on 14th December.
On the 14th.
The tech mix site will be at
at Walkstyle.
Walkstyle, that's in Parkland. Is it free?
Yeah.
It's free from 5 p.m. to
8 p.m.
To 8 p.m. So guys, kindly kama wewe ni mswa tech, make sure umeshow up huko at least. Oh, I mean, mambo niseme tech.
And it's December.
It's December. Yeah. So on 14th, make sure you join them. That's again at Walkstyle Africa. That's in Parklands.
Yeah.
From 5 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Yeah.
Sorry. All right. Any last words you'd like to tell Kenyans who are watching?
So basically, as we begin on the 20th to 25th of January, we'll still publish the venue for where the record is going to be happening. One thing that is important, whether you come physically to support 6 days talking, I'm not talking for myself, I'm talking for the continent, is a lot. Your moral support is very helpful. But more than that, one thing that is important as Kenyans is to lend your voice during the conversation, because we'll cover a lot of things. So anywhere you feel that this appeals to you the most, let's say it's in politics, let's say it's in education, let's say it's in finance, wherever you feel it appeals to you the most, it doesn't take you anything to maybe write a tweet about it and then tag us. You can tag SPC Universe across all social media platforms. And yeah, we need those conversations to be had more than what we are doing on our own. The goal is to have over 10,000 people within that period from across the continent having various conversations within that time. Yeah, so I hope to see a lot of Kenyans jumping on the conversation as well.
You have a website, right?
Yes.
What's the website? Maybe they can.
So
also
just Google
visit.
SPC Universe, and then you could see
You'll
all our
see all the
social,
social media
everything
handles.
is the SPC Universe. So you'll see everything there.
Thank you so much for joining
Thank you
us.
so much.
I hope I'll be able to make time and attend some of no, the 25th and
You should.
the 14th one.
Yes,
the
you
25th
should.
is on January, 14th
Yes,
is
you
December.
should. You should.
Yeah, umesikia.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is Tech Beer. All right. Okay, we are going to go straight to the music. Rajyz, take it over.
Of life, iko tunanapa. Mesimama cause uko na mimi. You never let me go. Mipaka yangu umeitanu